An immaculate inning. 9-pitch, 3 strikeout. Rarely happens in baseball.
Welcome, everybody, to the playoff edition, first playoff edition of the Immaculate Inning podcast. We're stoked to be here right in the midst of the wild card round. We've got some fun stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I think there's no better time of year. The weather starts cooling down a little bit. You get playoff baseball every day except Friday. And yeah, you don't get any homework done because you're distracted, is what I've learned. So
Exactly.
So I think this is an interesting episode because we're not going to really follow the traditional format that I think we usually go on. And so I guess, talk about, I guess we've kind of discussed, and a lot of these teams have had their playoff spots for a while. Maybe discussing how a couple of these teams got here may be the best way to go about this, Drew. So I think, unless you have any problem with this, I think we focus on the AL West, how that finished out.
I think that is appropriate.
So we did discuss there was the Rangers, Astros, and the Mariners all in that conversation. And when we spoke last week, Drew, the Rangers were 2.5 games in first place. And what happened? Big bad Astros won the division yet again. What is your reaction to this, Drew? I mean, I know it's gonna be negative, but how did this happen?
The Rangers just they just sold. They have been inconsistent all year, all second half, I should say. The first half they were pretty consistent, but that's when they had consistent, healthy pitching. That just kind of it reared their head. Their inconsistency, their inability to field a competitive bullpen in the second half. They've had the worst bullpen in the big leagues. They've been abysmal closing games. I think since the second half started, they've blown 14 saves, which is just absurd. So yeah, I mean, it starts there with the bullpen. Like you can't shoot yourself in the foot like that. You can't help the team win. You can't help yourself out if you're blowing saves left and right, giving up runs. Aroldis Chapman was awful out of the pen, just looks bad. They've got nobody that they can really go to. They're so taxed in the starting rotation as well. Like really the only guy that's getting them 6 or 7 innings consistently is Jordan Montgomery. It's having to go to a bad bullpen earlier in a game and more frequently, having to cover more outs. It's been a mess. It's really all you can say is I blame this on the bullpen. I think that the lineup, maybe let them down. Maybe with against Seattle, they really didn't score a lot of runs, but that's a good pitching staff. You would like to see them put up a few more runs against George Kirby there, but they just weren't able to do that. So I really, really, at the end of the day, kind of blame this on the bullpen more of anything. And then the Astros just did what they were supposed to do. They played a Diamondbacks team that is good, not great, slightly above average, not well above average, and they took care of business. That was a Diamondbacks team that pretty much knew that they were going to make the playoffs, so they were not really too concerned with being competitive and all that. So the Astros did what they're supposed to. And at the end of the day, Seattle winning all those games against Texas ended up helping out the Astros take the division. So it's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, it was really a do or die for the Mariners. I mean, if they win all 4 of those games, we see the Mariners and not the Rangers. They won the first 2, kind of getting their hopes up, and then lost that third one. But did take 3 out of 4 from the Rangers, and like you said, the Astros took care of business, taking all 3 from the D-backs, who actually could have fallen out of a playoff spot if the Cubs did not lose to the Pirates, but they did. So Cubs kind of shot themselves in the foot. That was another team I was going to mention just quickly, and we'll kind of move on to the playoff series pretty quick here. But yeah, the Cubs shot themselves in the foot. Went from I think a 93% chance to make the playoffs at some time in late August, early September, to obviously a 0% chance. So
Yeah.
that's a team that really our first guest, one of our first guests, Josh, came on and predicted them to be his guest for the most likely wild card team to make it. And boy, was he close, but didn't get it.
Yeah, it's been a tough couple days for him, I can imagine.
So, I think I mean, in the NL side, we knew that the Phillies were going to make it. The Marlins, a little bit of a surprise, but have been hanging around all year and just were able to win the games at the end of the year to
Well, and
push it for a 5 seed.
how about the end of their season? I mean, you go into New York, you get a game moved back a day, you have to play a doubleheader, you don't finish a game, due to the grounds crew making an error on a certain day. I mean, how about an emotional ride? They thought that they were going to have to fly to where did they finish their season? They had to fly.
Crap, that's a great question.
Yeah, but they thought that they're going to have to fly somewhere, fly back to New York to finish the game, and then immediately that night fly to their next destination for the wild card game if they had made it. It turns out it didn't matter. MLB, it was to play one inning, to play the ninth inning. So MLB ended up erasing that and not making them make that up. But what an emotional roller coaster that was for the Marlins right there, and Marlins fans at the end of the end of the end of the season.
Yeah, and so correction. The Marlins finished the year with the Pirates. The Cubs played the Pirates and the Brewers were actually eventually the end of their season. But yeah, baseball doesn't exist video that came out on this. I don't know if you had the chance to watch it. It's very funny. I do like him a lot. Yeah, they talking about emotional roller coaster. The manager tried to go help out the grounds crew get the tarp on
Yes,
because there's such complications with this.
I did see the video that you're talking about, and I saw that. I'll tell you what, pulling that tarp, it ain't easy, and those tarps are awful big in the MLB. I've pulled smaller ones; they're not fun. In the rain, it's miserable. You're wet. So props to him for trying to get the game in. We'd love to see a manager get out there and gets his hands dirty every now and again. So
Yeah, Drew and I have pulled quite a few tarps right side by each other. So
we have.
no, that was funny. And yeah, I mean again, MLB suspending the game didn't make a difference. Obviously it would have been the same outcome anyways. Cubs with a big choke. Um and I know we kind of had this conversation about are the Cubs aren't per se a laughing stock, but I think there is some like true chokeability to this story. Like this was a 90+% playoff team to losing out. I know we've seen that before, but it's kind of crazy.
Well, and you look at those games against the Braves too, like that really kind of set the precedent for their last like week and a half. Seiya Suzuki, great baseball player, has had an extremely great season. Just doesn't catch a fly ball that should be caught. They blow some leads uh, late in games. The Braves walk them off in the 10th the next day. They end up getting swept. Then you go into Pittsburgh, you don't take care of business there, and then and then eventually you're facing off against the Brewers. But yeah, I mean, there are games there that you should win, that you have to win. Like I know the Braves are a tough team to beat, and it's hard to go into that atmosphere and go in and play away games there and win. But I mean, they had two of those three games in the bag. I mean, going into the game late with not sizable leads, but multiple run leads, and they just end up blowing it. You look at the bullpen, which was kind of a question mark all year. The rotation wasn't bad, but you look at kind of where it was without Stroman, with Steele kind of being a one man horse out there, kind of pulling it along. I mean, and then you look at the lineup, like guys like Nico Horner, set the second baseman, absent last couple weeks. Candelario, who they traded for at the deadline, who was scorching hot after they acquired him, wasn't there. Wasn't a factor in this last week. Cody Bellinger still played really well. Seiya Suzuki, outside of his one error, played really well. Dansby Swanson continued to do his thing, played great defense, got some timely hits here and there. But you look at the lineup as a whole, like William Contreras had a decent second half, but just not really enough to kind of push them over. Or no, sorry, he is who's their catcher? It's not William. Uh Contreras is now with the Cardinals. I already know who their catcher is. Wasn't a factor. You know, it's that's a team that could have won and then didn't. So, they sold. They should have played better. You expect that team to play better. Yeah, and so with that, let's go ahead and dive right into our playoff series. So I think where we should start first, Shane, is let's go to Texas Tampa Bay. So Texas, they missed out on winning the division. Ended up having to become a wild card team. So now they're facing off in Tampa Bay right now. The series is in fact now over. Spoiler alert: Texas Rangers won. So going into this series, I think a lot of people were big fans of Texas's offense. It had sputtered that past series against Seattle, but most people were really confident in it. But as we kind of talked about earlier, the pitching has just not been great for them. The rotation's been okay, but the bullpen's really been a big, big sore spot in that lineup. And you know, Texas dominated this series.
Did what
I
they had to
mean,
do, right?
they dominated. They showed up. Everybody showed up. They started Jordan Montgomery yesterday on the mound, who I big fan of, South Carolina guy. Got my national championship shirt on. Has been great all year for both St. Louis and Texas. Has really only had about 2 bad starts. Shows up yesterday. Oh, beautiful start. What was it? 7 innings, 5 hits, 5 Ks, no walks, and no runs. Just uber clutch performance from him. Shows up, gets it done. Nathan Eovaldi pitches today.
That wasn't even
Huh?
that wasn't even the best. Not even the best part, by the way. I want to point out Jordan Montgomery's diving play on a bunt. The big man getting off the mound and making a phenomenal play. I had to give credit to the PFPs there.
Thank you, Shane. It was majestic. For to the only appropriate way to describe it was majestic. So and then Nathan Eovaldi goes 6 2/3 today, 6 hits, 1 run, 8 Ks, turns back into his pre-second half self, pre-injury self, really is locked in. And I mean, I also think probably the biggest story of this series is probably the Rays' performance yesterday. 4 errors, which is the most in franchise history in a playoff game. I mean, that just can't happen. In a game 1 at home wild card series, you can't have 4 errors in game 1 and lose. Like, I mean, that's borderline unexcusable. One of the plays was a sharply hit ball to first. Yanni Diaz glanced off his glove. Another play, Jose Sirius going back to the track on a hard hit Corey Seager ball, ends up hitting off his wrist at the wall. He jumps, hits off his wrist. I believe another one was the shortstop, who is pretty inexperienced, but they feel like is their best defender, made one, and somebody else had an error. I can't remember exactly what it was. Jose Siri again had another one, charges on a ball, a little blooper, swipes up, pulls his head off it, hits off the heel of his glove into the air, catches it. Whoever it is going first to third is 2 steps away from third. Siri decides to just rear back and launch it into the opposing team's dugout, allowing a runner from first to go to third in order to score. So, it's just unexcusable. What do you take away from this series, Shane? Was it the fact that Texas was that much better than the Rays, or did the Rays really just hurt themselves?
I think the biggest promising thing for Texas is their starting pitching. I mean, they allowed 1 run through 2 games, and their starting pitchers, I mean, like you said, Evaldi went 6 2/3 today, and Montgomery went, 7 yesterday? So, and that's a 13 and 2, almost 14 innings of work from your starting pitchers, and they combined for 1 earned run. So against an Orioles offense that is definitely better than this Rays offense, that is going to be I mean, just I mean, I want to see the betting odds going into this Orioles series because it's actually going to be interesting. There's no real clear favorite in the AL, I guess. I mean, maybe the Astros now that they're in the position that they wanted to be. But yeah, that's my main takeaway from the Texas side, the starting pitching, and the Rays side. Like, yeah, that first game was really just them destroying themselves. If you take Jordan Montgomery out of the equation, I wouldn't really even really say that Texas outplayed them. It was like 9 hits, 6 hits, I believe. So um, just lack of offense from the Rays side.
Yeah, I mean, Eflin didn't look great today, but Glasnow, I mean, pitched. I mean, he gave it his all yesterday. I mean, he was out there. I mean, he was out there until the end. He gave it his all there, and so he had nothing left, and the Rays just really hurt him. And I think too, a massive takeaway for this as well for the Rangers is they're done today. They don't have to play until Saturday, so they get a full Thursday of rest, full Friday of rest, and then they obviously are playing Saturday. So not rest, but they're going to be traveling, and then they will have like workouts and stuff like that. But there will be no game. Whereas these teams that if some of these teams win, if the Marlins win today, if Milwaukee wins today, and then if Toronto wins today, those teams have to play again tomorrow, and then we'll only have one day before they have to play, one day for travel and kind of reset. So this is big for Texas to kind of get ahead and go ahead and put themselves in position where they can go ahead and I mean, the game finished up a couple hours ago, so I mean, they theoretically could already be on a plane to Baltimore to get there and get set up. So that's massive for them as well.
Yeah. And the one thing actually I do want to mention is that I kind of want to blame Rays fans for this. I know Rays isn't a huge fan base. Dude, the fans were dead. I
It
mean,
was
you look at the
bad.
stadium, not full, not lively. I mean, obviously the fans don't count for the players' performances, but I think maybe the biggest adjustment going to Baltimore is this Baltimore Camden Yards is going to be rocking, like Philadelphia rocking level. My brother actually has tickets to the first game of the ALDS, and so he'll be at
Oh,
that game. So maybe if possible, little voice crack. We can get a reel posted on the Instagram of a shot from that game there. That would be pretty cool. Maybe I'll ask him to do that. But yeah, I think Texas, the biggest thing for them is, I mean, they haven't played a home game yet. They won't until the middle of the Baltimore series. They're going to be going into a hostile Baltimore, Camden Yards, and gonna have to face Kyle Bradish, who's no pushover in that first game, and then Grayson Rodriguez game two. I don't know. I actually was gonna ask you about this. Do you pitch two? So who does that leave? Dane Dunning or John Gray? Game one?
it's a great question.
Because Dane Dunning pitched the last game of the season against Seattle.
He did. Um, yeah, I don't know what I do there. I guess let me pull up some stats real fast. Let me just kind of do some comparison off the top of my head. I'm not exactly sure who I would go with. John Gray. So 3.7 for Dane Dunning, ground ball rate of 46.3. Dude, John Gray's got a 4.2. He's got an 8% walk rate. 19. I would imagine they go. The FIP is a 4.5, whereas for Dunning it's 4.2. I'll be honest. I think that they probably go Dunning. Just because he has several more innings, about 20 more innings, and has significantly better stats. His ERA is a lot better, and his ERA is a lot better. His FIP is fielding independent pitching, which is a statistic we use to kind of see how good the pitcher actually is with that defense. So I would go Dunning, just because I think Dunning. He's just a little bit more consistent and has been a little bit better. Whereas Gray is a little bit less workload and a little bit worse statistics. So yeah, that's kind of where I go with that one. We just lost Shane, but he may be back. It looks like he's getting back. So Shane, I was just telling them I would go Dunning just because he's had about 20 more innings and better statistics, better numbers. So that's where I go. I go Dunning game one, and then hopefully I'm able to reload Montgomery on short rest and go um, Montgomery, Evaldi, and then probably Gray in that order. But I also don't know if you saw this just real quickly, and then we can kind of move on to our next series. But Scherzer's been throwing off the mounds. He's been throwing bullpens. He is exclaimed that he
Really?
feels great. I was watching the Texas game earlier today, and Tim Kirkagen was kind of commenting on that. He doesn't think that he'll. I guess some of the baseball community doesn't view him available until the World Series potentially. But there's video of him throwing full uniform bullpens in Tampa Bay, and he seems to be in high spirits in the dugouts. And appears to be feeling very good. So that could be a potential boost for the Rangers, especially knowing him. I mean, he's going to try to get out there and get on the field, especially for his team during the playoffs. Like he's going to want to throw. So, yeah. So potential game changer for the Rangers there. So I guess with that, we can kind of slide into our next series. We'll move into the series that is also has a game going on right now, Toronto versus Minnesota. They are currently in the middle of game 2 right now. It's the bottom of the 6th. Minnesota is up 2-0. Minnesota. The Twins have broken the losing streak. I mean, and what fashion too. I mean, Royce Lewis 2 home runs. I mean, come on. Wow. I mean, just a really great performance from the team. Pablo Lopez turned in a great outing. Oh, more specifically, I would like to mention Royce Lewis hit his 2 bombs off of probably top 5 pitcher in the AL, Gausman. Gausman only went 4 innings, 3 hits, 5 Ks, 2 homers, and 3 walks. Those 2 homers obviously were to Royce Lewis. Pablo Lopez only goes 5 2/3, but only allows 1 run on 5 hits, 3 Ks, and 2 walks. So, maybe not eye-popping numbers there for Pablo Lopez, but really does turn in a great start and put his team in position to be ahead. And they are ahead now. They are up 2-0 in the bottom of the 6th. So, yeah, Shane, what are your takeaways so far from this series? Bottom of the 6th. Where's this series going? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling that the mediocre Twins are firing me up a little bit. I think this may be kind of a Kevin Cash scenario. A couple years ago, in that World Series, 2020 World Series, where he took Blake Snell out prematurely. Um, Manager John Schneider, and yesterday is a little different. Kevin Gausman went 4 innings, 73 pitches, pulled him. Today, Barrios gets pulled after 47 pitches by John Schneider and put in Kikuchi, who ended up giving the RBI single up to Carlos Correa, and did not look great. Who I'm actually a big Kikuchi fan, so I was a little disappointed to see that. But yeah, I think John Schneider, if this does go the Twins' way, is going to get a lot of heat for this. And I know that he kind of made it clear that this was his plan to kind of play the matchups. I think he was specifically playing the lefty-lefty matchup in that scenario. And then the Twins did a pinch hitting Donovan Solano for Alex Kirilloff, who was the lefty that they were trying to target. So kind of funny because they had Kepler, Kirilloff, and then Correa. So they were going for those 2 lefty bats against Kikuchi, and then they ended up facing more righties than they expected. But yeah, I think he's going to get a lot of heat for this. I don't think by any means this is the Twins playing that good, though. I mean, a 3-1 win, the same guy gets all your runs, all your RBIs. I mean, I guess on the right side, Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray look great. We knew that their pitching was going to be good, but going against the Astros, I still think they're going to get absolutely hammered. I mean, I hope The biggest thing right now I'm watching is if they get in the ninth, the Twins win. I mean, Duran, you're not hitting.
Absolutely.
He's gross yesterday. Electric entrance. That place was rocking. That's a place I'll give credit is that Minnesota was rocking. So
Their fans have
yeah,
shown
I
up so
mean,
far.
good for Minnesota. Yeah, to see it again. Postseason baseball.
Yeah, exactly. Shane's having some more Wi-Fi issues, but yeah, I mean, playoff baseball, it really brings people out, really gets the atmosphere going. I mean, it gets electric, but kind of to his point, like this game's in the bottom of the sixth. If this game gets to the ninth, it's over. I mean, Duran is untouchable. This was kind of something that I've been thinking about after seeing yesterday's game and kind of looking over today's stuff. I kind of agree with Shane. I don't know if this is necessarily the Twins playing amazing. I think if they do face the Astros, the Astros will handily win, even though I'm not very high on the Astros bullpen, nor am I very high on their starting rotation. Um, I do think that I think this is more of a disappointment for Toronto. I mean, you just look at the expectations that came with them. They were that third team from the AL East, best division of baseball. They were going to come in and be a dark horse for the ALCS, potential World Series team. You look at the lineup, it's dangerous. You've got George Springer, Kevin Kiermaier, Bo Bichette, and the biggest disappointment, in my opinion, biggest two disappointments, in my opinion, Matt Chapman and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Those two guys specifically have been absent. Guerrero is 0 for 2 today with a walk, and then Chapman is 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout in today's game. Whereas, let me pull this up real fast. Yesterday, they both, yeah. So I mean, yesterday they were Guerrero was 0 for 4, or no, sorry, 1 for 4 with a hit, and Matt Chapman was also 1 for 4 with one hit and one strikeout. So, you kind of look, those two guys really have been absent for this team, and I mean, just kind of what a disappointment, for Toronto. You look at their rotation. Kevin Gausman gives up the 3 runs and then gets pulled. That could maybe be criticized a little bit later. Same with Barrios here today. Gets pulled early, not letting their guys go, not letting them pitch out of the outings. I mean, that's what's you want to play the matchups, but these guys all year long have been grinding, been going out every day, trying to get outs, doing their job, and then they enter the playoffs, and these are good pitchers. Kevin Gausman, excellent pitcher. Barrios, really good pitcher. So kind of taking the ball out of probably your strength. I mean, I feel like the strength of the pitching of Toronto is definitely in their starting lineup, not their starting rotation, not their lineup. So it's a little bit of. I feel like this is a big disappointment for Toronto. Obviously, you're the underdogs going against the AL Central champions of Minnesota, but in my eyes, they've got a better lineup and they've got a better rotation. They just didn't show up to play. Kind of what they've been doing all year. They've had a few guys here and there show up, but nobody has really showed up. Specifically, Matt Chapman after the first month and a half of the season, and Vladimir Guerrero the whole season. Those guys just they just haven't done what they're supposed to. So, Shane, I don't know what you think about that, but I was just kind of going over, kind of what a disappointment this is for Toronto, specifically some of their better, more higher played players, kind of just disappearing, specifically in this series, but also just kind of in the grand scheme of the season.
I think it's a little bit disappointment for baseball fans in general because I mean I'm still under the impression, like I said, I don't know if that part got in or not, that the Twins have no shot against the Astros. I think this is really the Blue Jays just like literally almost giving it to them. I mean I can't remember the stat, but they left a crazy amount of runners on base this series. They just really are not coming through when they need to. So Blue Jays beating themselves. Um, to be honest, Drew, I'm kind of itching to get to this Diamondback series, man. I really want to talk about this.
I
I'm
am
be
too.
honest.
So I mean, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into it.
Yes, I'm gonna disclose to the viewers. My AL team is the Orioles, just because I want to align with some family ties. My NL team's 100% the D-backs. Love their jerseys. I
Ooh.
love Zach Gallen. Love Corbin Carroll. It's a long shot, but I like the D-backs. And yeah, they went out and freaking won this first game. like went against their identity, hitting some bombs.
Yep.
Screw the speed team. We're a bomb team. Wow. Corbin Carroll with a moonshot, Ketel Marte hitting a BB out of there. And this fired me up. I mean, a 444 foot bomb from Carroll, followed up by a back-to-back D-back bombs, is what they call them on MLB's Instagram, by Ketel Marte, and then Moreno later in the game hitting another home run, followed up by your boy Christian Walker adding some insurance in the ninth with the double.
Hey man, Christian Walker knows a little something about this, baby. He was there for this. Love Christian Walker, homegrown guy. Still comes back to the area. Him and his wife live out in Blythewood. I've got some kind of older friends of mine who are very close with them. So, they're still very near and dear to our community, and love seeing him tear it up there. I mean, he's had almost a career year this year. So not to go into an in-depth dive on Christian Walker, but I mean, man, what a game. What a game. I mean, complete reversal of roles here. I was reading an article on Fangraphs earlier today about just kind of like the absurdity of last night's game. I mean, it went against everything, The Corbin Burns, best, probably top 5 pitcher in baseball the past 5 years, going out, get shelled. You've got a rookie up there who's got a 5 ERA on the year for the Brewers. Zach, I do not know how to pronounce his last name. So
Fad, I think, or something.
Something along those lines. Who has not pitched well, has had an okay second half, but by no means should he be a game 1 starter under normal circumstances. Obviously, the D-backs were playing until the very last day for their spot, so that kind of explains it. But man, I mean, they abandoned the speed. They abandoned kind of the scrappy, let's crawl some runs with some steals, some singles, all that. Bomb City. Man, I mean, it was absurd. Devin Williams did not look great, and he threw 30-something pitches last night. So even if he is available for the game tonight, it'll be very limited and could potentially not be available until tomorrow. So, I mean, what a bunch. And, they're starting Freddie Peralta today. Brandon Woodruff out with a shoulder injury. Big news. Kind of a Brewers rotation that was viewed as potentially the best in the postseason. That could potentially carry them, some were saying, to the NLCS, maybe even a World Series. Losing their second best pitcher this year, Brandon Woodruff, to a shoulder injury. I'm not sure his timeline. I know he's out at least for the wild card series, but won't matter if they don't win today and tomorrow. So big news.
Yeah, and I want to get an MVP. I want to give an MVP to this game. Despite all the bombs, I don't know if you saw this, Drew. Kevin Ginkel, huge 7th and 8th inning, 4 Ks, scoreless. I mean, this really locked it down for him. Like, I seriously do believe that this was, I mean, and they have Paul Sewald coming in. I guess they don't have a true closer, but they've been using Sewald as the closer. I mean, he's not as locked down as some of the guys you'll see, like Duran or RIP Felix Bautista for the season, but
or Devin Williams. I mean, Devin Williams has been just as dominant as those guys as well. So, a complete reversal of roles. You see the Brewers pitching staff giving up runs, and then the Arizona bullpen, which has basically been the worst, if not second worst bullpen in the league all year, shutting it down. So,
yeah. This was awesome to see. It's also awesome to see Evan Longoria turn the tables back a little bit, like 10 years with that play at third.
Oh yeah.
Phenomenal lunging play. And I mean, this really puts Arizona in the driver's seat. I mean, you got Zach Gallen going tonight, top 3 pitcher in the NL, if not top 3 in the league this year. And then tomorrow, I mean, today, Freddie Peralta, we all know that he can compete with anybody. But tomorrow, I mean, it's undecided. I looked at it for who the Brewers would be pitching. It'd be likely Wade Miley or Lauer. I forgot his first name. I think it's Eric Lauer versus Merrill Kelly, who's another guy that can really give you some innings. So really puts Arizona in the driver's seat for me. And I mean, this team has to go and play the Dodgers. So reality may set in real quick for them after this. But I mean, I think these teams definitely have a better shot than the Twins do of beating number 2 seed. So this is really exciting to see, Drew. I'll give you And it's kind of tough to speak on these series. Like the other two, I guess we've had like 1.5 to 2 games of material to work with. But this series just it sparks a lot of excitement in me. It really does.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I think I think tonight has the potential to be a great game between these two teams. As you said, Freddie Peralta and then Zach Gallen are squaring off tonight. I mean, this could be an extremely boring game. It could be a 1-0 finish game, or there is potential. Both these guys are vulnerable to giving up runs. Zach Gallen has been super consistent all year, but there's been a couple starts here and there where he's given up several runs. Same thing with Freddie Peralta has been great, but I think there was about a couple week stretch there where he turned in a few bad outings. So obviously these aren't like super mature, great lineups that you would really be worried about. But I mean, shoot, as we saw last night, I mean the Diamondbacks locked in and put up some runs. They hit some bombs. Christian Walker with his double. Carroll, Marte. So I mean, I honestly couldn't tell you what's going to happen tonight. I think these are two. I think yesterday's game showed that these teams were slightly more evenly matched than people thought going into the series. I think people thought this was Milwaukee's series to lose, and I think that while maybe Milwaukee didn't play great yesterday, and they probably should have won, I think this more shows that the Diamondbacks are also here to play. They're here to win, and they're not going away anytime soon. So hopefully, we'll see. But I do
Yeah,
agree with your point about the Dodgers. I think that they will not win.
yeah. I mean, I think I almost got this freak to tell you that. So, but you never know. Baseball's a crazy sport, and um, I think if anything, this is the series that's probably most likely to go to a game 3. So, at least give
Yeah.
that'd be the perk of the Diamondbacks not winning tonight is actually have some baseball on Thursday because our next series, the Marlins versus Phillies, I would be pretty surprised if it went to a game 3.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the Marlins. I mean, they just I do like the Marlins. I like the bottom feeders. I like the mentality they have. But I mean, they do look overpowered by a Phillies team, who is the best team playing at this time right now. And I can confidently say that. Even the Rangers with their offense, I think it was the Rays kind of beating themselves. This Phillies team is beating other teams and beating other teams like they are a Dodgers Braves contender kind of.
I've been saying this all week. I think that the Phillies are the second best, second most talented team in the playoffs behind the Braves. I would take them over the Orioles. I take them over the Rangers. I take them over the Astros. I mean, dude, this is
Oh,
a team that revolves
you
around one of the greatest, one of the most electric hitters of this generation who is not scared of the bright lights, is not scared of the moment, shows up when his team needs the most. Bryce Harper. I mean, this team revolves around him. He shows up. This team doesn't back down. The lights get bright. They come to play. Trey Turner, electric player. Nicholas Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber. You look at the rotation. It's really good. Wheeler, Nola, even Walker has been inconsistent, but can turn in really great outings. I mean, then you go to the bullpen. Alvarez, I mean, coming 100 out of the bullpen right there with his funky little arm slot. Like, I mean, it's hard to not like this team a lot. It's hard to not list them as favorites to win it all. I mean, I really do. I think that they're better than the Dodgers. I think that if they squared up against the Dodgers, they would easily win. I have no. I'm interested to see what happens in the Braves series. I mean, I think it could be a repeat of next year where they win in what was it, 5 games? Like, I mean, this team is so oddly complete, and it feels so weird to say that, but there's so many holes, but it doesn't matter. The holes don't matter. They cover the holes, and they hit bombs, and they and they pitch well. So I'm a big fan of this team.
yeah. I mean, going like down this lineup, it's kind of crazy. Like you just don't realize how many pieces like Schwarber, Turner, Bohm, Harper, Realmuto, and Castellanos and Stott. Like that's your first 7 hitters. And you're like, all right, that's legit. And I mean, you have last night was Pache and Rojas, and that's their likely on it for tonight. Um, but it's just like, dude, like you just don't get a break until those last 2 hitters, really. And I'm actually looking at their stats against Miami starter Braxton Garrett, who was their best healthy starter with Alcantara and Yuri Perez out. And I actually really do like Braxton Garrett, and I think that there is a possibility. I don't think there's a possibility they win tomorrow, but I think there's a possibility they win this game because Braxton Garrett could have a career performance. But um, Alec Bohm, 556 against Braxton Garrett in his career. JT Realmuto, 429 against Braxton Garrett in his career. Then you got Trey Turner and Bryce Harper, 333. Bryson Stott, 333. You don't have, other than Castellanos and Schwarber, you don't have a guy in their lineup that's hitting below 333 against Braxton Garrett in their career. So just really, I mean, Aaron Nola on the mound hasn't been the Aaron Nola we've usually seen this year, but it's still Aaron Nola. He knows how to pitch when the bright lights come on. So, yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
I mean,
expect to see the
and
Phillies.
yeah,
I just want to say to you, Drew, that you guys got a bad deal here. I mean, obviously, you'd rather play the Brewers or Diamondbacks. Like Braves, it's not the deal you want.
no, this is tough. This is yeah, but I mean, you know, even like what Brandon Marsh will probably be playing what left or center for them and slotting it in there at the 8 or 9 spot. Like even he can get hot and be a really good hitter. He's shown flashes of that too. I mean, this is just a really good baseball team that gets hot at the perfect time, you know. So, we'll see what happens, but I mean, this is potential. I think that the Braves Phillies series is going to be electric. The Braves have been hosting sim games this week, and they've allowed fans to actually attend them to kind of curate that playoff atmosphere so that they can kind of get into the swing of things and not really get so like socked in the mouth when the time comes. And so I think Braves fans are going to show up and they're going to be rowdy. They're going to be loud. I think Phillies fans are going to show up. They're going to be rowdy. They're going to be loud. I mean, you know, going from Atlanta to Philly and then back to Atlanta and then back to Philly for these games. I mean, there's not going to be a dull moment. It's going to be loud. It's going to be electric. I mean, it's going to be true playoff baseball. Really, before you even get to like the NLCS or the World Series. So I mean, this has potential to be just some electric baseball after they take care of the Marlins. But I do have a question for you, Shane. So let's say that Jazz Chisholm full strength, and Sandy Alcantara and Yuri Perez are full strength. If this is a full healthy Marlins lineup, what are their chances at beating Philly?
Better, but not good. I mean, it's really still. I think
It's not
most
enough.
teams are outmatched. No, I don't think it is. I mean, I think the Phillies, again, like I said, would be the favorite in the AL if they were in the AL.
Hmm.
So I really don't. I mean, I think the Phillies are the third best team. I disagree with you that I think the Dodgers are better. I do think it's close, but I think they're the third best team in the league in my mind. I think that doesn't get expressed probably by the record, but um, yeah. So, and that's funny that you talk about the Braves a little bit because my trivia question for you today is about the Braves in a postseason context. So it's a little bit of a tough one because you surprised me last week. So,
I did. I got you. I did get you last week with a tough one. So
but yeah, I think yeah, I mean, just I'm really excited, and it's really good to be talking playoff baseball. And I know I want to apologize to listeners in a certain sense that we can't time it well to where we go at the end of every series. We kind of just kept it, thought it would be the best idea to keep it Wednesdays just because no matter what day we choose, it's always going to be in the middle of some series. So we're excited to be here on a Wednesday, get a break from homework, and come with some playoff baseball, Drew. But you have any final comments?
no, I mean, I guess all I have to say is, everybody tune in. Watch some games. It's going to be fun. It's going to be electric. It's going to be great. So if you have the opportunity, go to a game. I think I'm going to try. If the Braves make it to the NLCS, which is a maybe. It's not guaranteed. I think me and some friends are going to try to go and hang around the Battery for one of those games and just kind of hang out in Atlanta. Um, so yeah, I mean, just get out there and enjoy this. I mean, this is the best time of the year, and it's going to be gone before we know it. It's going to be the off season, so let's enjoy this time of the year.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, maybe you can get a video of that electric environment. And like I said, I'll try to get a video of game one in Baltimore. So we're really trying to expand our coverage. Um, and again, we might have some exciting things coming up in terms of us. And, I haven't even mentioned this to Drew, but I've thought about like maybe little giveaways or trivias for the listeners? Because I know we have some actually, some dedicated listeners that tune in every episode. We do really appreciate those people. So maybe find some ways to honor those people. But in the light of trivia, Drew, this is a tough one, but you do know this player. I'm positive you know this player.
Okay.
Who is the youngest Braves player to hit a home run in the World Series?
Andrew Jones.
Wow. Okay. Maybe I need to find a different one. Wow. How do you know that so quick?
I don't know. I mean, I saw, so I watched some YouTube. Like I think I watched maybe, I don't know, something comparing potentially Michael Harris and Andrew Jones, and it was, I don't know. It's just like I feel like I think that's kind of obscure, but I think if you're like a hardcore Braves fan, like you know that, like that's like one that you kind of know, like because I mean he was essentially called up for the playoffs and went off in the playoffs. I mean, was running rampant on the bases, making plays in the outfield, and then hit his home run in the World Series. So yeah, I don't know. I just yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. And I want to do one more thing for our listeners. DM us with the answer, and we will shout out your Instagram on next episode. I
Yep.
didn't even consult Drew on this. This is I figured you'd be fine.
Oh yeah.
Who was the 2022 postseason home run leader? And you can cheat. You can say that. So we advise you not to look it up and really take a genuine shot at this. But DM us at the Immaculate Inning on Instagram if you have the answer. We'll shout you out on next podcast. So
Yeah.
yeah, Drew,
Thanks
wanna
everybody
wrap
for
us up?
listening. We appreciate it. So, follow us on Instagram. We're on YouTube now. You can watch us. I know this week's will be a little weird because Shane is a little in and out, but we do some funny stuff. No cowboy hat this week because the Rangers sold the bag and didn't win the division, but did the cowboy hat last week. So we're gonna try to do some fun stuff on Instagram. We got some YouTube stuff. So, thank you again. Yeah, we just want to say thanks for all the support, and we look forward to continuing to do this as the season progresses.
Peace.